You are now listening to Stockton 360 News Magazine here on KWDC 93.5 FM.
Hello and welcome to Stockton 360 on KWDC 93.5 FM. We are the voice of Stockton. If you're paying attention to us on the live stream at kwdcradio.org, you can see who we got in the studio grooving. This is Governor Don.
Professor Jimenez.
And we also have Vice Mayor Christina Fugazi.
Good evening, everyone.
And Attorney
Alan Sawyer.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
All right. We're doing great. I'm glad to have you in. An important discussion we're going to be having today. And if you didn't know, I'll let you know. It's going to be on this marijuana initiative, or cannabis, as it also may be known, in Stockton. Of course, we're going to start out right. So, let's go ahead and move on to our big subject at hand.
Yes.
The marijuana initiative in Stockton. Now, this is something that already started, but there was a bit of a hiccup. Something happened. Vice Mayor Fugazi, you know the story on that. Tell us about this.
Yes, I do. So, back, I want to say it was in 2009, City Council directed the Planning Commission to develop an ordinance for medicinal marijuana dispensaries. And so we spent nearly a year developing it, drafting it, refining it. We heard from many successful dispensaries in Oakland, which is one of the most successful dispensaries, I think, in the country, is out there. Marin, Sacramento, up and down the state, people came in and spoke to us. And we wanted to make sure that we drafted what would be best for Stockton. And at that time, we said that we would allow one dispensary per 100,000 residents. So there was a two-step process. The first step, you had to go through the application process and get approved for a license. The next step would then be going before the Planning Commission in order to get a use permit, kind of like alcohol. You get an alcohol license and then you got to get a use permit that runs with the land. And so we had 3 applicants that made it through the licensing portion. 2 of the projects were approved for a use permit because one of the projects was literally 5 doors down from the other. And we said, we got to spread these out. And there were homes, like residential homes right across the street, and we said, that's kind of, even though it was zoned industrial, there's still residents that were there. So so we had 2, and then we got a little skittish because the federal government, there weren't any real regulations that were done by the state or federal government at that point. So the city got a little, cautious on this, and they put a moratorium, and they said, this is it. We really don't want these opening right now because the city could be held liable at that point. And so none of them became operational at that point.
So there was one open for a while, got closed down, or?
Well, there's a backstory to that one. Well, and so the point is this, is that with this moratorium, though, even when the dust settles and all that, the way our ordinance stands now, we cannot allow anybody else to come in and say, hey, I would like to get a license and a use permit to operate, even though right now we do have one of the originals. So it makes it difficult because then you kind of have a monopoly. You have one in the city limits that's operating, and we have plenty of people that have a legitimate medical need for the cannabis, and there's only the one place. Now, I've been told that there are many other places that are operating that are not legal.
I'm sure.
But that goes to show you that there's a need. They wouldn't open if there wasn't a need.
That's right.
Here, have a seat.
Another surprisingly
I'm Christina, by the way.
game that makes a
Very nice to meet
use of the license. Wait,
Tell us about your situation and why you support medical cannabis.
Well, I am allergic to chemicals, and the medicines that they give me, I have reactions to. So I've had to reach out and find things that are whole and natural. And I happen to know because I was a friend of an American Native shaman at one time, and he told me about it as its healing capabilities. Was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer, then I've really used it.
So now, so you have you've had a cancer diagnosis. It's been a few years now, and it's been tough on you.
Yeah, in 2012 I was diagnosed, and I had surgery in April of that year, and I've been in chemo every year since. It seems to little cells in the system show up, and you have for ovarian cancer you have a numbering system, and I seem to jump up every August.
Wow.
And I have to go through all the testing again, and this time it went through a nodule in my neck, and while under chemo this time, I had a reaction to one of the chemos. So they had to use just the other one because they were worried about what's going to happen, you know, how it affects the immune system.
Right. And
So
chemo is very tough on the system. It's about one of the toughest things you could do.
Yeah, I consider it poison.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
It
You
is.
sit there
it
and
kills
let 'em-
the good cells along with the bad cells.
Sure
Yeah,
does, sure
yeah.
does, yeah.
And I have to say, marijuana has kept me so that I'm still fighting. In
Yeah.
other words, when I get so sick that I have to use a walker and stop and sit down in a chair before I can get to the bathroom and stuff like that. When you're that ill, you need something to lift you and help you go and
That's
keep moving. Because if you stop, it's over.
We'll talk. Your name again?
It's Terrence.
Terrence. Okay. So tell us about your story, about your situation.
Well, I'm a patient myself. I've been a patient for the last 3 or 4 years, and cannabis is a really extremely effective medicine. It can be used for pretty much anything. A couple of years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, my grandmother was diagnosed with leukemia, and she's been taking the same kind of drugs that Dorothy has been taking also.
Yeah.
And it definitely has put her out of commission. It has changed who she is.
Right.
And she probably would have seen cannabis as an alternative if it wasn't stigmatized, if it wasn't illegal and hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
I've always been a part of cannabis initiatives, statewide even, to make sure that there's more access.
So definitely, if you don't have a safe place to get it, you would be in harm's way just to get access to your medicine.
And I mean, it's a plant, and
Yeah.
and it's helping them to cope with the side effects of the treatment,
Right.
or with coping with the pain associated with that.
Right.
And they're not on the street, smoking or something. They're doing it in the privacy of their own home, using
Right.
this.
One of the oldest sciences on earth, and every medicine that we have essentially comes from some sort of plant. Just about.
Aspirin is from the bark of a tree.
Yes, exactly. And and as we are, clearing away rainforest to grow hamburgers, we are losing access to these important, vital herbs that the finest medicines come from, and medicines without these kind of side effects that we're talking about. I have this thing called the $20 test, because if you smoked $20 worth of cigarettes at one time, you would die in a matter of minutes. If you drank $20 worth of alcohol, you would die. But $20 worth of cannabis, maybe it'll put you to sleep. One medicine, and then you got to take another one for the side effects of that one, and then you got to take another one, and it turns out, they cancel each other out, and you do need your liver, but too bad, it's gone now, certainly.
And then keeping them tested.
Yeah.
And clean. That
Yeah.
was part of the whole initial thing, was to make sure that they're tested
Right.
and clean. Because just to give you an example of what's coming across, those pills that all around in the Sacramento area are killing people because they're made to look like something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, if stuff is brought in and you aren't covering the growers, and you don't know what they're putting in there to make them supposedly grow faster instead
Right.
of letting it be natural,
Sure.
that could kill me.
Sure, exactly. Maybe somebody who's interested in selling it recreationally would not be paying attention to, but somebody who's selling it medicinally would have to pay attention to.
That's right.
It's part of a quality control.
And that's part of what I wanted to have emphasized.
Indeed.
Sure, if they want to jump on board with us and help us out, there's a lot of work to be done to get this to pass, and it's organized to legalize at gmail.com. if you just send us an email there, we can help you out and get you started and going.
Say that email again.
That's going to be organize to legalize. That's it's organized to legalize, all spelled out, no spaces, at gmail.com.
Yeah, and I would say that I have extreme confidence that the signatures will be gathered. But in the event that they aren't, City Council has the authority to put this on the ballot.
Okay.
It would have to be 4 votes in order to do that. But we at the council level could potentially do that if those signatures were not gathered.
Now, not to put the cart before the horse, but 7 city council members. Do we have the 4 votes if it were to come up?
That would be a violation of the Brown Act. What are you trying to get me to do, Governor?
Wow.
But think about it, especially in this climate. I mean, I am hearing from constituents
Yes.
the importance that this is to their quality of life.
Uh-huh.
And it's not only a quality of life for them, but believe it or not, this is a quality of life issue for the entire city because you're
Certainly.
looking at revenue.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win opportunity for both sides of the table here. And so I can't in my mind find a reason why we wouldn't move this forward. We're not voting it in. We're just putting it in the hands of the voters to decide whether or not they want this ordinance, this initiative to move forward in Stockton.
Wonderful. And this is it's really good that you're coming in and talking about this issue. We're just speaking with Vice Mayor Christina Fugazi. We have here Alan Sawyer, the political consultant on the medical marijuana initiative. We're sitting here with 2 patients who are advocates and advocates for the right to access, for the opportunity and the ability. When you talked about a win-win all across the board, anybody who's even worried about the criminal side of it should already acknowledge and accept that there is already dispensaries all over town operating, outside of the law, and
We're not collecting any revenue.
not collecting any revenue.
It's
and
not regulated.
It's not regulated, and so there might be some patients, there might be some recreational users, there might be some other stuff going on. It's a commerce, it's some sort of a store, and it's not safe enough. Why not? There's
And this
plenty of good reasons.
And this really puts the Compassionate Care Act
Mhm.
that was passed in this state a number of years back, but there was no regulation.
Right.
Well, now that we have it, we can truly be compassionate and caring for the people who need it.